My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
Is there any optimism to be found? I mean, could we at least say that?
Yeah, Malta is a beautiful place. It's
Richard. Welcome to the Ankler Podcast. It's Thursday, May 8th, and I'm Elaine Lowe, author of the series Business Newsletter, coming to you from Los Angeles, California, where the industry is buzzing about some major policy proposals affecting Hollywood. We have got a lot to cover today. The big story this week is, of course, President Trump's proposal for a 100% tariff on films produced in, quote, foreign lands, Special Ambassador Jon Voight's plan to make Hollywood great again, and California Governor Gavin Newsom's counter-proposal for a massive federal tax credit. And we're going to dive into all of that, plus an Upfronts-themed pop quiz, where I will do my best to defend my title as champion from last week. But first, we're going to talk about Disney and Warner Brothers, both of which reported Q1 earnings this week. There can, of course, be no earnings without Sean McNulty of the Wake Up newsletter. Hi, Sean.
That's very kind of you to say, Elaine. I think somehow Zaz and Iger would probably go on without me, if I had to take a knee one of these
You're
quarters.
like, no, is Sean tuning
I'm sorry.
in?
Is somebody, exactly. Can we check on that, please? Yeah.
And also with us today is Natalie Jarvie of the Like and Subscribe newsletter and the Ankler himself, Richard Rushfield. Richard, welcome back to the pod.
Hello there. Good to see you.
Now, this tariff talk comes at a time when Disney and Warner Brothers have significant international production presence in the UK and Canada and all sorts of foreign lands. Right, Sean? But they didn't really mention the tariffs in their earnings calls?
We were 0 for 2, both WBD and Disney not mentioning it and Wall Street not asking, which tells you either no one's taking this seriously, which I think is probably more. I mean, I was expecting the companies per se to say something, but I figure Wall Street analysts would be like, what are you guys thinking?
What's going on? Yeah.
And couldn't be bothered. So whether that's the state of Trump's rep 3 months into his presidency here about social posts that don't have a lot of detail, and maybe they're just saying, well, whatever, it doesn't mean anything, which is its own, you can put your own stock in that, or, what is there to do here? Disney CFO went on CNBC after their earnings call and was asked by CNBC, which is like, yeah, we'll work together with the government on something, and, kind of moved on. So not much in the earnings call part of this week here.
Okay, so they're all just kind of nudging it forward. I mean, I imagine if they had said anything at all, that would have been grounds for a bit of a market-moving comment. So probably better for them to not say anything.
Yeah,
at this
Trump's
stage,
name was
right?
not even mentioned or any government, any of these calls. So I think they're all happy to take the pass on this, and there's other stuff to talk about.
In fact, the greater news coming out of WBD was that there might be a SpinCo coming their way, right? That's what they indicated to CNBC, it sounded like.
No, that was David Faber of CNBC saying, people are telling me this. That was not WBD. Take that what you will. David Faber has made other comments in the past, some of which have not been borne out to be true. So you can put as much stock in that. I mean, look, he's not saying anything that's not like in the background here. It's like,
Sure.
WBD had officially, since the first quarter where WBD officially, kind of split off the TV business in a little more of a pronounced fashion in their financial reporting. So nothing materially changed organizationally, but like, okay, this is separated out, and you're think you're going to do that to do something with it, whether that's a SpinCo or something else. I mean, getting a deal done, a sale is like, I don't think anybody's looking at Paramount and be like, yeah, that looks like it's going pretty smoothly. I think we can get that done, especially when you own CNN. So unless that changes, Zazov's going to have to get creative. But I think that I would even say myself, that's probably sooner than later. What that is, what that looks like, who knows? Place your bets.
It's a big week for the rumor mill, isn't it, Natalie?
Sure is. Yeah. I mean, Sean, my big takeaway was you so starkly put just how much smaller Warner Brothers Discovery is since it was, came together here a few years ago. It's remarkable. They haven't done the SpinCo. They haven't sold off any assets, and yet their revenue is shrinking.
21%, and this is from 2022 to 2025. The first quarter revenue. That's just a smaller company. I mean, it's nothing. Again, it's not a sale. This is just the cord cutting from the cable business, eating away at that. The streaming bubble, the post-streaming bubble where there's many shows being ordered and things like, well, that's going to cut your revenue, right? So just those factors alone caused a 21% drop in total revenue at WBD. So yeah, it's trending. I don't think next year is going to be any bigger. They're losing the NBA next year. So those revenues, ad revenues are going to be out the door. Maybe the profitability gets a little bit better. We'll see. But so that won't change. That's what's really, but it's pretty stark to have a change like that. Paramount reports later today, so I'll kind of do a comp there as well as their size. But that's, not Q1 dependent, but if you're talking big trends, Natalie, that really just stands out of that's something to note here.
Yeah, the other thing I always keep an eye on is streaming revenues, which it seems like both Disney and Warner Brothers Discovery are actually doing okay on that front. We all, have covered the kind of big shift that these companies had to undertake a few years ago to, actually try to make these streaming arms profitable. And they're finally figuring it out, it looks
right
like.
On time. Even when this was launched, all these services were launched 2019, 2020. They're like, it's going to take 4 or 5 years to become profitable. But, well, we are Q1 2025.
I remember 25, 26. I remember seeing those marks a few years ago and being
right? You remember those, Elaine, right? And all those calls in 20. So when does this become, and they're like, well, give us, this much time. But a lot's changed in that time period. But Disney and Warner Brothers both made essentially $340 million worth of profitability in Q1 of their streaming services. So Netflix, but WBD and Disney are now meaningfully profitable, Netflix to a much larger degree, but in streaming, where Paramount, Peacock, are not, and certainly Tubi and Pluto, who knows, or Roku's not profitable. So seeing who's making money now, Elaine and Natalie, who's not, it's going to be more pronounced, Natalie, as you said now, as we enter 2025.
That side-by-side you did of Disney and Netflix, and the fact that Netflix is almost caught up to Disney.
Net profit.
The net profit figures is kind of wild.
Yeah, give Netflix another year, man, and they have a good shot at making more money than Disney, including their theme park business. It's total Disney profit. So
speaking of theme parks, there was another big piece of news that came out of Disney.
Yes, who wants to go to Abu Dhabi? Richard, we going to Abu Dhabi for a podcast? What do you want? What are you doing in 2033? What do you got?
Yeah, I'm there. The opening junket, count me in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like how they took a page out of Sex and the City 2, and they're setting their next sequel project in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, nice. Nice tie-in there. Very nice. And WBD already has a theme park in Abu Dhabi, which I learned yesterday in my research. So WBD, a big trendsetter here,
Well, you've got that company. What's the company called that operates them all?
Morale is the company doing Disney's, which I guess is probably...
So it's really Disney just sort of licenses the...
they don't own
like Tokyo.
They don't own it or operate it.
Right. They have a hand in making sure it's up to snuff, Richard. But yeah, there's no money being materially being put out outside of design work and creative work, but there's no boots on the ground there, Richard, per se.
Like this is most similar to their Tokyo park, right?
Tokyo also was licensed,
right.
Which has been there since the early 80s, so it's been a long time.
All right, well, let's move on to our main segment today, where we're going to unpack this tariff news. Sean, Richard, I know you chatted a little bit about it in your Monday morning quarterback Substack Live video, which you're doing, and everybody should tune into on Mondays. But, this is something that still has so many question marks attached. President Trump, whose IMDb credits include Home Alone 2, Zoolander, and WrestleMania 23, has proposed a 100% tariff on films made in, quote, foreign lands. Richard, what do you make of the spirit of this announcement?
So, in my column this week, I outlined President Trump. If you look at the industries that contribute the most to Democrats, the top 4 are, I believe, education, universities, and everything. This is their employees and their
unions, right? Yeah.
Well, if you take out unions and advocacy groups, you've got education, the legal industry, publishing, then movies and TV industry are their top 4. All of which he has gone after in some form or another in his time, and all of which he has come to help and decided he want to do something with. Actually, number 5 is the pharmaceuticals industry, which he just announced this week that he's going to try and help them out too. And the message for them is this tariff thing that he bleated out is not a plan or anything workable. The message is we in the federal government can do a lot to help or hurt you, especially if you want to have a merger or an acquisition, if you need FCC, if you need your licenses cleared, and then tariffs and all that. So why don't you bear that in mind next time you're writing a check? And why don't you think about Disney has already settled a suit with them. Paramount is on the way to doing the same. And it's just another way to make it clear to this very prominent industry that he's always been very interested in, that you want to think hard about whose side you're on here.
But going back to the tariffs for a moment, I just want to know what exactly constitutes a film, quote, produced in a foreign land. Are we talking about the physical production? Are we talking about the nationality of the cast? Are we talking about where post-production and VFX take place? I mean, like when it comes to post, like that stuff is so globalized now.
Wow.
So like if something is physically shot here, but like a majority of the post-production takes place outside of the US, does that make it produced in a foreign land? There are so many questions.
That's the thing. I mean, this is clearly not a thought out policy. It's a post on a social media platform. Yeah, I mean, so many Hollywood, Los Angeles based companies film movies overseas. Is that going to count? Are we going to be taxing Disney or Warner Brothers for, shooting a movie in London? It's unclear what exactly this would even look like.
And the White House kind of walked it back the next day as well after that post. Although interestingly, it should be noted that John Voight, one of Trump's 3 special ambassadors to Hollywood, had met with him at Mar-a-Lago and pitched a plan with federal tax incentives, co-production treaties, and limited tariffs. Richard, what did you make of that part of it, of Voight's documented proposal?
I mean, the big part of that proposal is that the federal government is going to give all sorts of incentives and everything. So if you're following the drama in Washington around the budget, where the Republicans who run Congress are trying to have a tax cut and save $2 trillion without cutting social services and have tied themselves in knots and have no idea where they're going to get their money. If you think what's going to come out of this is them deciding, let's commit billions to helping Hollywood, like that is not happening in this. And so it's great that John Voight has a plan. It's great that Gavin Newsom has a plan for Washington. We can all have our little fantasy. Maybe we could do a model Congress, like model UN, where we can all get together and debate it and enact our plans. But nothing like this is happening at all. So nice plan, John.
Well, when we come back, we're going to dig deeper into how this tariff uncertainty could affect the entire industry, as well as the counterproposal from California Governor Gavin Newsom. All right, we'll be back right in a moment.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Hi, I'm Eric Barmack, and I'm a working producer, and I write the Real AI newsletter for The Ankler. Real AI is your destination to understand the truth about AI and entertainment, who's using it, how they're using it, and the technological change already here in the industry. I care about AI because it's changed the way I run my own business and even pitch and sell shows. I've used AI for script coverage, to help my team brainstorm concepts, and even to come up with pitch decks. Real AI will also tell you more about the fast-moving technology the studios and streamers are tracking and how that will impact your job both today and tomorrow. I believe being informed is the only way to face the new frontier right here at our doorstep, which I believe can help foster the best in our human creativity, something that can never be replaced. Real AI comes out every other Tuesday as part of a paid subscription to The Ankler, so please join me by subscribing at theankler.com today.
Welcome back to the Ankler podcast, where we're dissecting the proposed movie tariff from President Trump that is currently shaking up Hollywood and setting group chats aflutter this week. With us are Natalie Jarvie, Sean McNulty, and Richard Rushfield. So California Governor Gavin Newsom says that he essentially wants to join forces with President Trump here and create a $7.5 billion tax credit to, I guess, essentially make Hollywood great again. For context, California currently has a $330 million program. There's a proposal currently in progress to more than double that to $750 million. So this would be a massive leap, even if you combined like all of the individual states' tax credit and incentive programs together. What do you make of this, Sean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that George is like maybe $1 billion. Yeah. If you got all like, New Mexico, other states that have it, I'm like 7.5 billion on the federal level. I'm like, all right, that's a number. But Richard, what's stood out to you on the number, I guess, on this? You know Gavin better than I do.
I mean, I think the big effect for this is that President Trump threw Gavin Newsom a lifeline here, because he's been facing the fact that basically he has ignored this issue for 6 years of his governorship, despite every cry and sign that the industry is leaving, production is leaving California. The legislature in general has ignored it for 20 years before that. And lately they're kind of lurching towards a sort of half-hearted bill that not even clear if that will pass. So President Trump threw him the thing. He's like, yeah, they can do it. The federal government, you do that, Trump. We'll work with you to do something. Yeah. So it distracts from the complete failure of the state government to address this problem for decades, and taking it towards some sort of fantasy that's not going to happen.
Yeah, Sean, like you were saying, this isn't anything we haven't heard before about the woes of California production, right? The lottery system that everybody complains about, the fact that labor costs are what they are here compared to other countries. And production is just super expensive in Southern California. When I talk to producers, they're like, yeah, it's kind of a rarity when you have something that winds up shooting in LA versus outside.
Yeah, I mean, production does happen here, but this is a business. It's math. It's just that production has become globalized. California was insulated to some degree for quite a while. COVID and the economic pullback is all kind of supported, reinforced everybody that I can shoot anywhere in the world. The quality I'm very happy with. And you are now on a global scale. What was the auto industry in the 80s? Well, I can make your car here for this price. The government didn't really, put any protections in about that. And now GM imports more cars into America than any other automaker, including Toyota and Honda. Like, that was what happened to that business. We are at that point now. It's on Trump's radar. It's on now. Gavin's at least giving a little more lip service to it. Is anything going to happen? This is a moment of truth. Richard, am I overhyping this at this point, or I don't know.
I think you're painting this as a place where there is some hope. First of all, production has left already. It's not a matter of saving it. It's gone.
Right. So how do we get it back?
It's a matter of bringing it back.
Exactly. Right.
So the price of saving an industry and keeping it there is a lot lower than the price of luring it back. So we're in luring it back category.
Yeah, we've already lost that. Yeah.
And this package that they're talking about is not adequate to save it. Luring it back is another. They're talking about buying a Hyundai and saying maybe we can afford a used one. And now you need a Rolls Royce to actually make this happen. And it's all fantasy. None of this is going to happen. Everyone will pass something that they will be able to say, we passed it. We passed an incentives bill, but it will be very inadequate and ineffectual. And like I talked about this before. I went around talking to some production heads and people about like, what can we do to keep the production here? And they're just like, what you can do is have had this conversation with me 25 years ago when I started talking about it. We've left the house. We got divorced. We're living with a new family in another state. We have new kids that are in school there, and you're calling me up and saying, wait.
And now you want to save the marriage?
And you say, I'm ready to change. I understand. It's like,
and Elaine, back to that $7.5 billion number that Gavin's touting, that's why that is so, I think, large. Richard's point, like, the cost of getting it back is so large. Like, that's, I don't know where Gavin got that number from per se, but that, when California said, was it 330 right now? And it's
330.
$750 million, and you're talking 7.5, 10x the number you're talking for California. Like, that's the size of the problem you have here.
In the sky number there.
But that's reality. It's reality.
Richard, I think it's so interesting what you're saying about your conversations with production heads. That's very similar to the kind of conversations I've had with folks on the studio side and TV studio heads when I ask, like, so what would it take to bring production back to LA? What would it take to bring it back to California? And the answers are always sort of very like, well, would be nice, right? Like, would be nice to bring it back, but it seems like we're just so far past the idea of coming up with...
It's a huge thing, moving production. What they went through, because no one here was listening to the concerns, they had to build new sound stages. They had to train crew. They had to create a whole infrastructure all around the world.
And really, it's easiest to do that with a first season show, because if you have all of these shows that are already in second, third season,
series,
you're not going to up and move these shows back to LA. That the cost of that would be enormous. So then you're talking about first season shows, and like how many first season shows are there these days compared to 10, 15 years ago? There are far fewer. So then you're talking about a smaller pool of potential productions to even do that with. I mean, not to say that it's a futile effort or a not noble effort, but that's the reality of it.
Well, it is a futile effort because it's not adequate. If you're not serious about what it costs, then you're just wasting everybody's time going through this little dance pretending
this is going to help. Yeah, it's a good point. But yeah, movies and series definitely different, Elaine. Where I mean, Harry Potter's in London. How many sound stages have been built and opened in London in the past 10 years? It's like, what's that infrastructure? And
wait. So is Warner's going to face a huge tariff on HarryTter?
Well,
or wait,
no, who knows about this?
I mean, we don't even know if it applies to TV series.
Exactly.
Right?
He didn't even mention TV, so who knows?
Which is an interesting omission because
a little bit.
Why did he avoid that? Well, because two companies, Amazon and Apple, that have made their accommodations with them, if you talked about TV, would fall under that.
Yeah. Although Amazon's getting into movies now, Richard. They're the next movie studio next year, so they're coming into movies too.
Yeah, what's the number? 12 to 14 movies coming next year?
Up to 15, I think, up to now, something
goodness.
like that. Yeah, exactly. They're keep this week, 3 things alone, Elaine. They keep firing away there.
I would bet you anything that if this tariff actually happened, big if, they would get some exemption to classify their movies as TV.
All right. Who knows?
Well, if we were to find a silver lining here, which is kind of like thematically, I feel like what we always come back to of where's the optimism here? I mean, is there any optimism to be found? I mean, could we at least say that?
Yeah, Malta is a beautiful place. It's
Richard. I was like, is everybody's heart in the right place at least? That it would be nice if more production were happening stateside?
If you're not serious, if you say that, but you're not doing anything serious to make that happen, and you're proposing things that are totally inadequate and don't address the problem, then no, you don't think more production would be nice. You think it would be nice if you got attention for pretending you're doing something.
I will say it's certainly good that this is kickstarting a conversation that, to Richard's point, probably should have happened 20, 25 years ago. So, maybe something good will come from those conversations and people at least tackling the problem. But, certainly doesn't seem like anything that's been proposed is going to be the silver bullet.
We're building really good dossiers for when they do business school symposiums about how California and America chase production away. In 20 years, they have a lot of material for them to look through.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like that everybody's on the record. I'm like, all right. And we've been dancing around this, and I'm like, this is at the forefront of the conversation. Let's be real. And then I think on Richard's point, I'll probably be a lot of talking and going nowhere, but at least it's going to be, all right, here's where you were on the record. Here's where you are. But before, it was kind of lurking in the shadows, like, I'm going to propose this, and we should do something. It is a point of conversation. And Trump, I don't think is going to let this go in a regular week cycle. He will come back. If he goes away for 2 months, it'll come back. It's not going to be like, we dodged the bullet. So I think that's the only thing I can take solace in of a silver lining is like, all right, we're having the real conversation. Here's the real dollar amount. You in or you out? You out? Okay, at least you said it, and we can go on our way. People want definitive answers and want to know certainty here, and that's the uncertainty around this. As Richard said, it's already out the door. Is anything going to happen to come back? No. Okay, now I can make plans. I'm gonna move to London. All right, great. Thanks a lot.
Right. Otherwise, get your sunscreen ready for your trip to Malta.
Or my trip to Malta. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, moving on, a place where this will almost definitely not be brought up next week is Upfronts in New York City. Natalie, you're going to be at Brandcast covering YouTube's pitch to Madison Avenue, while Sean will be at Netflix, and we'll both be at Amazon, and I'll be at Warner's and NBCU and Disney. Okay, what are we thinking the vibe is going to be next week, especially after all the volatility in the broader economic market this past month or two, which suddenly seems like a weirdly distant memory now?
Oh, none of that's going to be covered in these presentations, Elaine. You know that. These are all just big
Everything's
songs and
fine.
dances.
Here are some shows you can sell against.
Come on, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, these shows have gotten smaller and less glitzy over the years anyway.
CBS isn't even going to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, I think we're going to get what we always get, which is this is why what we're making is amazing and going to be the next big show, and everyone should buy ads now while you can.
Natalie, what are you expecting from YouTube's Brandcast that, I don't know, maybe we won't see at the traditional upfronts?
Well, there's going to be a lot of creators there, I'll tell you that. And, I think at this point for them, it's kind of like a victory lap. They can come out and talk about how huge they are and how many people are watching them on, TV screens. And it's the same message that they've been hammering home now for several years. But they're continuing to try to work to up those CPMs, get advertisers excited, really make the case that this is TV, just TV in a different form. And they are doing some things to redesign their app to kind of put that front and center. So I think that will be the big point that they make this year.
And that seems like so much less of a hard sell, right? That like TV is actually very much so a staple of your viewing universe as a consumer these days.
Yeah, it's much less a hard sell than it ever used to be because YouTube now is this dominant platform on TVs in American households, and they're bigger than Netflix and all these things. They have a lot of data points that they can use to back up that claim.
And Sean, which ones are you going to? You're going to Netflix, and then you're coming to Amazon with me, right?
Yeah, we're having a day on Monday, Lane. We got NBCU and Amazon.
Oh, you're going to NBCU?
Yeah, the kind folks at NBCU invited me this year, so I'm gonna go check that out.
Yeah, they always have a good song and dance at the Radio City Music Hall.
I know,
Monday
I've never been
morning,
to Radio
kicking
City.
off the festivities.
Excited, and Disney on Tuesday, of course, we won't be there as well. So yeah, busy week. Yeah, but YouTube is funny. It's like an upfront, and it's like YouTube's just on all the time. It's not like the upfront's like Netflix has NFL games for Christmas, like these events you can kind of hang your hat on, where YouTube's just like our podcast use is up and it'll be up again in October and up again when we come back in March. Like it's harder. I get they want to get more of the, in terms of the upfront aspect of it, Natalie, it's an interesting pitch.
There's no linear schedule.
That's why they call it brandcast. It's not really an upfront,
right,
but they certainly have crashed the upfront week, which I think is, again, just part of that. Yeah, it's telling. It's part of that message that they're trying to send advertisers that, they're playing with the big boys and, that you should, exactly. When you're thinking about that ad buy on NBC, also think about that ad buy on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, in the spirit of upfronts, I understand we're closing out today's show with a bespoke upfronts pop quiz. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to go with good old TV ratings. So every year, Richard, you'll remember this. Certainly, we'd have a top 10 TV list coming out of the top 10 TV shows of the year. Obviously, things have changed a little bit from the Friends era of how much people watch Friends or ER. But our friends at Nielsen have put together this is a 35-day viewing number, multi-platform. So this is streaming shows and network TV shows from the 2024-25 season, so figure fall and spring TV here, across linear television and streaming, the most watched series, including this is live plus 35-day viewing.
I feel like this makes it so much harder when it's L plus 35.
Welcome to our world, Elaine. This is what we got here. This isn't, please. If you write a TV column. This should not be you write a series.
Oh my God, I don't write about ratings. It's not 2003.
Right. This is probably why, exactly. So this is U.S. only, so keep that in mind as well. This is Nielsen. So a couple of questions for you guys. We'll start with how many of the top 20 shows, how many were on network television versus streaming?
3.
3 out of 20. All right.
I was going to say 5.
All right. Richard?
I'll say 8.
All right. We got 6.
No.
Actually, no, but Richard's right. No, sorry. We have 6 from CBS. We have 2 from ABC. Richard, you're all right. Sorry. 8. Richard's correct. Sorry. Yes. So 8 out of 20.
It's going to be CBS, though.
6 is CBS. Exactly. Yes. Exactly right. Can you name the top 3 shows of the past 24-25 season? I'll just tell you right now, none of them are on linear TV. They're all streaming. They're not all Netflix. I'll tell you that, too. So.
Squid Game.
All right. Good. We got one.
The Boys?
No. But
Fallout.
No. There is an Amazon show out there.
Reacher.
There you go. All right, that's it. Yes, Reacher's Amazon's biggest show. And the third one, anything else? This is a Netflix show. It's a very limited amount of episodes. I'll give you that hint.
Okay, limited.
Adolescence.
There you go. Very good.
Really?
All right.
Adolescence.
Nicely
Dang.
done. Yeah, Squid Game number 1, Adolescence 2, Reacher number 3. A network show was in 4th place. What is the biggest show on network TV in 2024-25 season?
Ghosts.
Nope.
Abbott.
Yellowstone.
Well, that's just on network TV. But no, Yellowstone didn't make this.
That's the thing about Yellowstone. It's confusing.
Yeah, it's confusing. Yeah, nope, none of the above.
It's a CBS show.
It's a CBS show. What is CBS's biggest show?
NCIS.
No, your guess.
it.
How many? Elaine's out of guesses. All right.
I'm out of CBS shows, guys.
George and Mandy, or
On the list, but not there. Not there. All right, Tracker.
Oh.
Tracker's the America's
the Justin
favorite.
Hartley show.
The America's favorite broadcast TV show is Tracker, followed by Matlock. And next in line is an ABC series. What do you got? ABC's biggest show on television.
Grey's Anatomy.
No.
Dr. Odyssey.
That's a
no, it's not
no.
Dr. Odyssey. That show's like on the bubble, isn't it?
It is.
Abbott Elementary?
Nope.
I've already guessed Abbott twice, Richard.
I'm just naming all the shows I've heard of.
I can say clearly.
High Potential.
Very good. Is the new
Oh,
series.
yeah,
Yes.
that is-
ABC's big new hit, guys. This is High Potential, right behind
That's funny. I
Matlock,
thought of
so
that as Hulu, but it is ABC, isn't it?
It is. It's tied with Matlock for the 5th slot on the list there. So,
All right. Go
all right.
broadcast.
There is one show that is not in the top 20 here that is not CBS, Netflix, or Amazon. What is it?
It's a streaming or broadcast?
It's a streaming show. It's a streaming show.
Andor.
No.
Severance.
Nope. Richard?
I don't know.
He's given up.
All right, guys. We got to
No.
get you guys.
Give us a hint. Give us a hint.
See,
Tell us the
too
streamer.
much.
ABC Monday Night Movie.
Barry Diller rules. Very good. You guys got to get out of the coasts, man. Come on. Landman, Paramount, Paramount Plus.
Landman.
So yes, this is what America watches, everybody. Landman was number 10 on the list at 15 million
Wow.
viewers and Live Plus 35.
I do anecdotally hear a lot of folks talk about Landman, so should have guessed.
Thank you. Good color. But all right, Richard, you're the only one who got a question right. So we're giving you the prize this week.
All right.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you for taking away my title, Richard. I'm glad you've come back.
Come back
Just
to
for that.
regain his throne.
That's right.
That is otherwise a wrap on this week's podcast. Make sure you're all visiting theankler.com to subscribe to our newsletters and podcasts for the latest industry insights. And we would really love your feedback. So make sure you leave a rating and review on wherever you get your podcasts. It helps us to grow our audience, helps us to get to know our listeners better. And follow The Ankler on social media at The Ankler on all major social platforms. All right. Thanks to Natalie Jarvie, Sean McNulty, and Richard Rushfield for joining today. And a big thanks to all of you for listening. See you next week.